Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Police Services Board meeting of Wednesday, September 18th. Note the change in venue. I mean, you all have, it's back to the future, I guess, type of thing, because apparently at one time the meetings used to be held here in the council chambers. But because of conflicts with our POA, we would sometimes get bumped. So anyways, we're back here and we'll see if this will improve the attendance and make it easier for the public to attend here at our meeting. So welcome. As we go forward, I'd like to have matters arising from the camera. Matthew, please.
At today's closed meeting, the board dealt with the following matters, discussing and approving confidential matters pursuant to section 44(2) of the CSPA.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I'm now our land acknowledgement. The Greater Sudbury Police Service strives to build positive and respectful relationships with the original inhabitants of this land, including First Nation peoples, Métis peoples, and Inuit. It is in the spirit that we as a service honor and acknowledge that we serve in this land that is cared for from time immemorial by Anishinaabeg people of the Three Fires Confederacy. We further acknowledge this land was the dish with one spoon and the Robinson-Huron Treaty region. In peace, our first duty. Thank you. Matthew, a roll call, please.
Chair Sizer.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lougheed. Member Fortier. Here. Member Lefebvre. And Member Poland.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest or general nature thereof? Seeing or hearing none, we can proceed. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is our consent agenda. There are a number of items there. Again, if anyone would like to discuss any of them individually, they can be asked for them to be pulled. If not, then we will proceed with the resolution.
At the Greater Sudbury Police Service Board receives and or approves consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.12.
One in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Member Lloyd.
Encouragement. Our consent agenda was the labor conference on November 26th, 27th.
Yeah, 1 second. Matthew, is he? You just have to maybe get a little closer, Member Lougheed.
Sure. Is that better?
Yes.
So Chair, I would just bring to the attention of the other board members, the labor conference at the end of November is very worthwhile. And especially if we're going into contract negotiations in the new year, I would strongly encourage all of us to attend.
Thank you. I think there's a date of September 30th to notify Matthew of your intentions to attend or not. So if we would please adhere to that date, and you're right, encourage everybody that can to attend the conference. Yes, Acting Chief.
Through you, Chair. I just, before we move through the consent agenda, I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to just the item on the staffing and deployment. Before we move on from that, I just wanted to make sure that we're aware that there's quite a significant moment happening right now with Greater Sudbury Police Service that's actually quite historical. We've just recently hired a practicing Sikh officer who is actually wearing a turban, which is quite significant. We haven't had an officer apply and be hired that is a turban wearing officer. So again, quite a significant and historical moment for Greater Sudbury Police. And obviously it meets our goals and our strat plan in attracting and hiring a diverse workforce. And hiring our first Sikh officer is crucial in fostering inclusivity and representation with our service and our community. And it's also demonstrating our commitment to ensuring that our force is reflecting the demographic of our community that it serves. And of course, we have a very strong, growing, and flourishing South Asian community. So I think this is a major accomplishment. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that before we move on. Deputy Chief Cunningham and the work of our Human Resources Department under Holly Bilodeau. And that, hopefully that this moment will inspire other individuals to pursue careers in our agency, and ultimately contributing to an equitable and culturally competent police force. So I just wanted to mention that before we move on.
Thank you very much, Acting Chief Hiltz. And I am at a loss again. I'm looking for
On page 29.
Page, letters of appreciation, 29.
That's what I'm, thank you. I was looking for, thanks, Matthew. I was looking for that page and that. So again, this is one that I like to highlight to our staff and to the media about the good work and the accolades that are given to our members for their service. And this first one was with Constable David Duffy and Constable Andrew Lanzo, who helped recover a stolen motorized wheelchair. And Constable Lanzo went above and beyond, I believe, once he had discovered the stolen property, making sure that it was returned, physically returned to the family. Constable Mickey Teed, again, helped an individual through a mental health crisis and was felt very understood by Constable Teed. Constable Kansas LaChance, a community member, was grateful to Constable LaChance for the empathy she displayed while responding to a medical health call for service. Thanks to her impactful response, the member has engaged in treatment. And Constable Jean-Yves Lacasse, from a local business owner, commended Constable Lacasse for his quick and efficient assistance during an incident with a customer, which led to a peaceful resolution. So I thank you, officers, for your continued empathy, commitment, and professionalism within the community and beyond. That's great. Thank you. Now we go to reports, and this one was regard to our body worn camera update, which was well worthwhile coming forward. It was somewhat initiated by a question by the public, but it's important that the board also are aware of where we're standing with the body worn cameras. So Acting Chief Hiltz, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Sizer. I'd like to bring your attention to item 8.1 on page 31 on the discussion agenda. We're here today to talk about the work that we've been doing in regards to body worn video. This initiative aligns with the new Community Safety and Policing Act objectives to enhance public safety, foster positive police community relationships, and ensure that police services adopt best practices in modern technology use, and that's to contribute to effective and equitable policing. Body worn cameras, adoption by police services in Ontario, it does continue to grow. And this is driven by our shared needs of our policing community regarding increased transparency, accountability, safety, public trust through the recording of video evidence in police community interactions. And the Greater Sudbury Police Service initiated the development of the body worn camera program in October 2021, following the recommendations of the provincial guidelines and listening to the collective voice of our community. So what's involved is the implementation. We're in the implementation and planning stages, and there's several components to this that are quite critical. There's a planning process, policy development, digital evidence management, staffing and training, integration of technology, and continuous assessment. So in the planning process, we quickly identified the need for a phased approach, and this occurred in 2021 after our police service created a body worn camera committee. This committee conducted an environmental scan, and the purpose was to collate best practices across police services, currently utilizing body worn camera in procedure development, training creation, and subsequent rollout plans. As a result of this environmental scan, the picture of size and complexity was fully realized. A very complicated and complex project. And the Greater Sudbury Police Service Body Worn Camera Committee took this information and analyzed how to apply established best practices in creating our local implementation plan. And the necessity of a phased approach was established to help ensure the effective adoption of the body worn camera initiative was thoughtful, responsive to our community needs, and will be sustainable in the long term. So in 2022, it was established that Axon's digital evidence management system, that I'm going to refer to as DEMS, is really the required foundation of all the Axon products for collecting, storing, managing, and disclosing digital evidence. The Digital Evidence Management Committee was created at that time, and in the fall of 2023 to develop a foundation of procedure, process, staffing plans, and comprehensive training for the rollout of DEMS to support the effective adoption and deployment of body-worn cameras at Greater Sudbury. So hiring, in that time, once we established that there was a need for establishing a DEMS unit, then we took to working towards hiring personnel to meet the demanding needs of an effective DEMS unit. And what we started with was 2 police professionals that were put into place. An additional position was created and added in September 2023 due to the workload involved in processing digital evidence requests. What happened is that the workload continued to increase post creation of this new DEMS unit and its deployment, and that resulted in 2 additional positions being created in April 2024. And while DEMS workload continued to increase, the Ministry Attorney General Criminal Law Division implemented a protocol for timely disclosure in criminal cases. And again, additional staff was required to meet the new disclosure timelines. And so with the growth of the unit and the subsequent responsibilities, we did determine that the need for a dedicated DEMS supervisor was also required. The next component is the technology integration. In 2023, while the DEMS was being rolled out to our members, the Ontario government provided a limited time grant opportunity to purchase license plate readers. It's called ALPR. This grant created an opportunity for our service to deploy Axon Fleet 3 system with the capability of ALPR and in-car camera systems with microphones for our officers. The grant was an opportunity for Greater Sudbury Police to further support a phased approach for our members to use body-worn camera systems in public spaces and prepare the disclosure workload of the body-worn cameras. The ALPR committee was created to develop the procedure, training plan, and rollout. In July 2024, the ALPR in-car camera system, through the hard work of that committee, deployed 31 in-camera ALPR systems to 31 patrol vehicles. So our Greater Sudbury Police Service phased approach has provided our service with the ability to responsibly navigate the unforeseen and foreseen complexities of the implementation of this innovative body-worn camera technology and subsequent program. And the development and rollout of each phase required the ongoing support of many members from across the GSPS that are here today in the room, impacting a variety of our resources, including our communication information technology and the information management divisions. So right now, our current situation is we're in continuous assessment and capacity building as we move towards operationalizing and rolling out this innovative piece of tech for our agency and our city. And throughout this phased approach, our service is committed to continuous assessment and planning. And again, standing up our DEMS unit and readying our people throughout this phased approach to our rollout of this integrated technology certainly has been critical in building a firm foundation for our officers and our organization to build from. So right now we're in digital evidence disclosure. We're working, our body-worn camera committee is constantly reviewing technology and process impacts to areas throughout our service. And currently impacts include court services And as a result, courts is in the initial stages of setting up a court management and disclosure unit to work with them in setting up disclosure processes of digital evidence in court cases. And this work includes organizing policy, job specifications, staffing, training, equipment, and software, as well as securing office space. So right now, we're also working with Axon to keep in step with current technology. And as we know, technology continues to evolve and grow and change over time. So we're adapting to changes over time in terms of technology and software updates. And also we're doing contracts and associated costs to ensure that we're successfully procuring and deploying body worn camera successfully at the Greater Sudbury Police Service and in our Greater Sudbury community. So right now, we understand there's still probably a considerable amount of questions in terms of financials and what the cost is going to be associated to this type of adoption of this type of technology and rollout to our officers and our community. And right now, the Greater Sudbury Police Service is in the process of preparing a detailed financial report for the October 16th Police Services Board meeting. And there'll be a motion detailing the options for effectively deploying this program with related timelines. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That was for information. Only questions from the board. Member Poland, Member Lougheed.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Acting Chief, nice work on the report. Technology implementations are never easy, so full marks to the team for having a phased approach and for what looks like strong engagement across the service. So a couple of pieces. What would you take away as the biggest win and the biggest learning from this implementation to you or the team?
Go
Through you,
ahead,
Chair. I mean,
Chief.
I'll start off with that one, but I'll certainly invite members of our team. Certainly, I'm in the acting chief position today, but there's several people across several divisions that have been involved in this very complex rollout. And I can say that there's a lot of wins, and moving to adopt this, certainly I think that in the public there is a misconception and initial approach that the police very, very much want transparency and accountability in police operations, along with our police community. So certainly that is one of the greatest wins, is moving towards that intended outcome, which we are moving very strongly in that direction and rolling that out. And I can't remember your second question. You want to repeat that for me?
Biggest learning.
Oh, well. The biggest learning is simply this. It brings to me a famous Donald Rumsfeld quote, if you will indulge me, the former U.S. Defense Secretary, and it's, there's known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. And what that means is, as an agency, we know what it is that we know. We also know what it is that we don't know. But you have to realize sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So the biggest learning opportunity there for us was that we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't realize exactly how complicated such a task was. We started off with a lot of vigor and a lot of best intentions. And then again, we realized soon thereafter, as we stood up a body-worn camera committee, that this was an extremely complicated project with a lot of moving parts. And that's why I'm very, very grateful to Deputy Chief Cunningham, Nathan Dokes, and a lot of key members of this program to establish a more of a phased approach with established benchmarks and timelines so that we could effectively stand this up. And I think that's the biggest learning point from this.
I didn't know how you're going to answer that question. Now we know. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Poland.
Member Lougheed.
What I don't know that I want to know is the timing. Because if I look at the calendar correctly, when I read your report prior to the meeting, Acting Chief Hiltz, I don't think you've added anything to any of the paragraphs, but you did make reference to October 2021, and we are now on the cusp of October 2024. So that is 3 years, and there has yet to be a camera deployed with regard to the body armor. You've got a committee that's been meeting regularly, according to your report. You now have staff, and you've hired a supervisor, but we still don't have a camera on the streets. And I guess I'm asking what I don't know that I'd like to know Is 3 years appropriate? You make reference several times in your presentations, Acting Chief Hiltz, about it's complicated. Many things in police service are complicated. The tasers were complicated. Other issues with regard to the dashboard cameras and the cars were complicated. This just seems to be taking a lot of time. When I read in the media regularly, other police services do have body armor deployed.
For you,
Go ahead,
Chair
yeah.
Sizer. Thank you very much for that question, Member Lougheed. I think that's a fair question. I know we have media present and we do have members of the public that are also holding our feet to the fire on that, which, I think that that's a legitimate question.
What's the answer, Chief?
Yep.
What is the answer?
The answer is this. The answer is that it's an innovative technology, and the key word is innovative. It means that we've never in the police agency done this before. So in bringing anything new into the police service, I don't think that taking a fast approach is particularly prudent. I think in this particular circumstance, again, I don't think we realize so much technological infrastructure needed to be built up to bring this piece of tech to our members and to our community. I think that a lot of different types of staffing, training, policy, and during our transition to bringing this to, again, our agency and community, it was quite extensive. And you have to keep in mind as well, the Greater Sudbury Police Service has the certain amount of people with the specialized skill sets to actually be the experts and the subject matter experts in bringing this technology to our agency. And there's other competing projects, and it's really the same group of people that are in charge of administering these projects to our agency. It's the same group of people. So there was other competing projects that were competing with body worn video during this time. And I think this is probably a great segue for me to bring Deputy Chief Cunningham and Nathan Dunkees into the question to speak to that.
Go ahead.
Because you didn't really answer my question, Acting Chief. You said innovative. It's innovative, and then you gave me a lot of other words. And then you said other competing projects or programs. So are you addressing that this was not a priority and other projects were more of a priority? Is that the answer to my question?
So I think your question originally was, it was taking a long time. Why is that? That was the question.
That's the same question. I guess I'm asking if there was a comparative. Let's say you said Barrie, let's pick any place you want, and they had body armor, but you would say we can learn from Barrie and save ourselves time. Did we go through that process? That's, I guess, maybe the question.
Body worn camera, and perhaps Deputy Chief Cunningham can provide us with more of an update on that one, Member Lougheed. Deputy Chief.
For you, Mr. Chair. So some of the things, in the report is, and I'll use we had to walk before we could run, right? And this is where we want to be. What we had to do, and again, the team is here today, is stand up some back end. So we did not have the infrastructure to stand up the back end. Where we find ourselves in a position now is we're ready to move forward with body worn camera because we've done the back end of the digital evidence. That became a priority through the ministry. And so that was pushed to us that we had to implement. And then as we've stood up all of this, and when I say the back end, what we didn't know originally was when you take, say, a video of a bar and there's 30 people, but the only person going to court is the person, it's the back end that takes a lot to redact. And so again, I think we bit off more that we could chew in 2021, and many of us were not sitting at that table. And so here we are. What we can't present today is that we've locked in with Axon into a contract for like a public safety package, and that's our digital evidence as well as our tasers. And so what we have to do now is be fiscally responsible and present to the board that we may have to wait. And that's where our timelines come in. We don't want to start to kind of, and Nathan could explain a little bit more, is a la carte. So we're ready to implement body worn, but it would not be fiscally responsible of us right now to do that. We want to, if we break our contract with Axon because we're locked in with our taser and DEMS, in order to add on this new system, we have to wait a little bit. So that's what we're about to present. So to answer the question, Absolutely, it was a priority for us, but we had to implement a lot of steps along the way for us to get here to launch our body worn camera system. Is Nathan on, Matthew?
Yeah, Nathan. Go ahead, Mr. Dilquist.
Testing. Through you, Chair. I don't want to downplay the endeavor it was to deploy a digital evidence management solution. So that's the key component here that not took away from the priority of body cameras, but was kind of the foundation to the body cameras. So when I think of an analogy to kind of simplify what DEMS is to our organization, we've captured digital evidence for years. Digital evidence has been part of policing for a very, very long time. But that organization has been left to the individuals, to the officers on how they want to organize their digital evidence, how they want to name their files, how they want to build their cases, how they want to essentially get everything ready for disclosure. When we in this board agreed to bring on the body worn cameras, the amount of digital evidence we were able to start capturing was going to grow exponentially. So as we did this environmental survey in 2021 and then leading into 2022, when I was onboarded, it became very, very apparent that we were not prepared for the amount of digital evidence we were about to be capturing. And we needed to look at how we were going to start organizing our digital evidence, how officers were going to be building their cases. And essentially it's more than just a foundation. And I think of it as we are going to individuals and doing an entire organizational culture change for, we're going into your kitchen and we're reorganizing your pantry. And you've been using your pantry and you've been using where your cutlery and where your plates and silverware and all things are for the last 20 years and it's worked for you. But now as an organization, we're saying we have to do it this way. And we need to make that change unified across the board for everybody. So that was one of the largest undertakings that we've had to do in the last 2 years, was that culture change of how you've captured your evidence in the past is going to change. So yes, you've been doing it for the last 20 years, but there's now a new way of doing it. We have new technology. We have mobile applications to be able to assist with capturing that technology, placing it to our digital evidence management solution, ensuring that the naming convention is all the same, and getting us prepared for, as we onboard now with capturing additional digital evidence, that foundation is built. Everything is flowing in the exact same way. And then to Celine and her team, that creation of the DEMS unit and the quality control and the auditing and ensuring that now all pieces of digital evidence that our organization captures is unified and is the exact same across the board. It's been a very, very big undertaking to have that adoption. It was a lot of building on the back end for the infrastructure and kind of the policy and procedure, and then the training component of trying to do an organizational change across 300 officers and how they do their day-to-day functions, right?
Member Lougheed.
So following up, Nathan, with you and with Deputy, I'm hearing
Closer to your mic.
Sorry,
member.
I'm hearing that that's done. And I'm hearing that in the near future, it's going to be deployed. So I've a question and a suggestion. The question is, what's the near future? Is it next week, next month, next year? When will because I firmly believe in buying armor cameras. I think it helps a lot in court for police officers. I think it helps the community. So the sooner it's out on the street, I realize all the issues of confidentiality. I realize the issue of redacting backgrounds, etc. But if you're there now, how much longer before we'll actually have them on the streets of Sudbury?
So that leads into this October report that'll be coming. So now our whole focus is around our Axon renewal. So in 2021, we signed an agreement for our TASER program and for the digital evidence management solution. And because we're so far into the contract, we just need to ensure that as we approach this renewal window, that we want to be fiscally responsible and not a la carting the body worn cameras. We want to make sure that we're getting the best value for our community with this Axon renewal, adopting the body worn cameras and ensuring that our renewal in 26 is encompassing our TASER program, our digital evidence management solution, and our body worn cameras. So once we have our renewal numbers, we'll be able to present exactly what this costs looks like for our renewal in 2026 and what this next phased approach for a pilot possibly in the near future in 2025 and our full renewal in 2026.
Okay, just a bit on the dates, Nathan. So 2025, you are going to do a pilot? Is that what I heard?
That's what our intention is at the moment.
Okay. So I take it this contract, which I don't understand, but I'm going to respect that obviously all the components have to be in the contract before you can do it. So your issue of tasers, your issues of these cameras, etc. So it was brought to the board's attention, I guess it was last week, that some police services in Canada are using a smart app where the police officer can actually make the notes at the scene of the incident, whatever it is, to get rid of all the paperwork of having to come back to the station and spending the last hour or 2 hours of their shift filling in papers, that in fact this can be done on a smartphone and that this is actually being done in Canada already. There are police services with that app. So I guess the question is, if that's perhaps our next step to modernizing Sudbury Police Services, and this contract definitely seems to have a bearing on how we can go ahead. Have you addressed that kind of technology beyond body armor?
So this board knows that last year when we came for budget time, we asked for several new staff. And one was a new programmer under Nathan's area. And we are in talks right now, and Celine's team, we've gone and done a ton of kind of visits. And we're adopting an app through this new programmer, and that's why he was brought on. It's going to help with dictation. It's going to help with officers creating their notes. It's going to help. So it's a separate to the Axon. Axon has one. I can tell you that Axon is extremely expensive. And we know that. It's almost like Apple, right? Every time we go to renew, now they're going to tell us we need Taser 10. It's just going to grow. So what we had done with this programmer and in-house is we're going to adopt Barrie Police Service. Several police services have adopted, and we're going to create it in-house. And Nathan, you might speak more to the technological, but we're well on our way to adopting that in-house.
Yeah. So
Before we proceed, we've been told by our tech people that while we can hear inside the council chambers, we must get closer to our mics so that those people that are attending virtually can actually hear our conversation. So everybody that when you're required to speak, please be conscious of that. Thank you.
yeah. So just to follow up on that next piece and just additional modernization. So that is now kind of the direction of my team, is we are starting to look at our organization and where we can start to create efficiencies and create, better workflows for our organization. One of them is through our improvement of our dictation system, which is a little bit of, it's an archaic type system at the moment. So we do have a site visit with Barrie Police at the end of October, where we'll be looking at Barrie's in-house built solution and looking at adopting that exact same solution here in the Greater Sudbury Police Service with our new programmer that we hired in July of this year, and having that spun up for our organization.
So Chair, I
Member? No.
appreciate your good information, Nathan. I would only suggest not to reinvent the wheel. So I'm glad to hear you're going down to Barrie. And I think there are other police services that are actually have used this for a little while now. And the person who presented to us, their comment was more about the back end as you're describing it, that these records have to be somehow that the officer on the scene is putting this into their smartphone, but somehow these records will be accommodated by the legislation that's required to. So rather than, not to be critical, 3 years, but if there's ways we can expedite this, I think our police services board thought this was a pretty good idea when we heard it. And I guess, again, if we're into good ideas, maybe it's something that we should invest. And I guess also, I'm assuming by what you said, Nathan, that we have the budget to get this new technology, so sooner is better than later.
Absolutely. And we saw this presentation by Barrie. They came to us, I believe, last year and made the presentation to us. Barrie is a service that we a lot of times go to. We're on the same records management system as Barrie. And so when you talk about back end, I don't know the information you received, but we have to feed our records management system. So they have to speak to each other. And that's why, to your point, Vice Chair Lougheed, we're not reinventing the wheel. We simply have to create the app ourselves. They're willing to share as much as they can with us, but we have to develop it ourselves. And we knew this last year, and that's why we came to the board asking for this new programmer, because we know we want to advance technology in our organization. And this really is one of the things, the dictation system. And, Celine's team has often said like, well, will we be out of a job? No, because we're moving digital evidence wise. People will now do this work. So we're modernizing and moving forward for sure.
Sure. For what it's worth, Deputy, that was the point that was made, that in fact, nobody lost a job except the priority stuff that had to be done by existing staff. They had the time to do it. Also, there was an interesting observation of the demographic of the police officers, that everybody that had under 22 years would prefer the smartphone because that's what they grew up on, and that there was a very few officers over 28 years. I think basically reluctantly, some of them learned the system and others retired. But if we're moving forward in terms of the future of our police officers, this system is a lot better than a whole bunch of paper at the end of a shift that isn't very efficient.
Absolutely. I think we have a meeting Friday on talk to
Excuse me,
text.
Deb,
and- yeah.
comments through the chair, please.
Yeah, sorry. That's it. Thanks.
Just through you, Chair. Being an officer, this started with typewriter and carbon paper. I would say, and hardline telephone system. I hear your point, Member Lougheed, and I can say that I did have a chance. Axon is an amazing product, and I did get a chance to see a demo of exactly that tech that you're explaining. And after over 13 years of operations, I can tell you, I brought a tear to my eye. But I think that in the effort of fiscal prudence, which Deputy Chief Cunningham and I completely understand, this option that Nathan is explaining and the deputy is explaining will achieve the same thing in a much more fiscally prudent way for our police service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That report was for information only. If no further questions, we can proceed to the renewal of our decentralization CAD agreement. Acting Chief Hills.
Okay, we're going to move to item 8.2, and that's going to be starting on page 34 of your books. I'm going to divert this one to Deputy Chief Cunningham and Nathan Dokes.
Deputy Chief.
Yes, again, through you, Mr. Chair. It's a renewal for us to continue to provide a CAD solution through our 911 ECC. It's an upgrade. And you'll see from Hexagon is the software we've been using. It's a public safety package. And so we are looking, as they are going to do these upgrades, they'll provide us with a project manager, as well as, acquiring the software, the licensing, and our CIT staff will monitor, support, and be part of this equipment infrastructure.
Great. Any questions? Seeing none, Matthew.
That the Greater Sudbury Police Service Board approve the renewal of the agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, represented by the Ministry of the Solicitor General for the decentralization computer-aided dispatch object service.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. 9.1, our donations reserve fund report.
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to recuse myself on these next two motions. I didn't declare conflict of interest because I have no financial relationship with them, but I am the chair of the CISU Foundation, and I'm also the associate pastor of All Nations Church. So I'd like to recuse myself from these votes.
Thank you very much, Member Lougheed. Member Poland.
I'll have to recuse as well, as I sit on the CISU Foundation board.
So strictly for the CISU recommendation. All right. And Chief Fields.
Okay, we're going to move to page 36. We're talking about $1,000 in support of the Finlandia Village, the CISU Foundation Family Walk. Since 2016, LaSalle Secondary School has partnered with Finlandia to host the CISU Family Walk. And this has always been a raise funds to support seniors and active living at Finlandia Village. So students and staff engage their families and the broader community in a door-to-door canvas to collect donations, and it culminates in a walk across New Sudbury to arrive at Finlandia Village. And this is a longstanding relationship where GSPS has provided traffic support, and we also attend and bring greetings to the families and the seniors at Finlandia.
Thank you. Recommendation is there, Matthew?
That the board approve the following donations with funds drawn from the Donations Reserve Fund: $1,000 in support of the Finlandia Village CSU Foundation Family Walk, and $1,000 in support of All Nations Church Mountain of Mittens event.
All those in favor, except for those who were recused? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. 9.2, our board reserve trust fund report. And there is a recommendation there. And there is, we received somewhat of an addendum with the, there's an additional request for $1,000 in support of the Black and White Gala. I will allow Chief Hills to
Thank you, Chair
Present, please.
Sizer. I just want to go back to just the second item in approving the donations with funds drawn for the donations referred by Reserve Fund. I think we've missed the All Nations Church Mountains of Mittens event. Do we want to cover that one on
That's fine.
page 37?
Read it.
Did he read it? Okay.
Yeah, everybody's ready. Yeah, we're fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we're on page 38.
Yep.
And we're talking about $2,000 in support of the Greater Sudbury Ride to Remember cycling team.
Correct, yes?
So the Ride to Remember Memorial Tour is an annual event whereby 200 police officers depart from the Ontario Police College in Elmer, and they cycle over 730 kilometers over the course of 4 days. And they arrive on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, and that's just in time to participate in the Canadian Police and Peace Officers Memorial Service. We've participated, the officers and the members of Greater Sudbury Police Service, we participated in this event for the past 2 years. And this year will mark the third year that GSPS has representation here at this Ride to Remember. The goals of the ride are important. It's to remember officers that have been killed in the line of duty. As we know, it's a very significant event in the police community, and it's very important for officers to honor those officers that have sacrificed their lives in the pursuit of public safety. And also one of the purposes for this is to make sure that we're taking time to pause and remember, to support officers' families and friends and colleagues. So not only is it to raise awareness for the memorial service itself and the significant sacrifice that many of our brothers and sisters make in the line of duty, but it's also, again, to maintain the memorial. It's to also provide programming and support to the families that are left behind when they lose an officer killed in the line of duty. There's several programs that cost money, and again, it's an awareness initiative, not only in the law enforcement community, but to Canadians everywhere.
On that note, also, I would like to mention that Acting Chief Hills was a founding member of this Ride to Remember, and is partaking and has been asked to partake in the run as a result of her involvement. And so a little bit of history. Chief.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair Sizer. Thanks for bringing that forward. Yeah, yes, I was involved originally in the Run to Remember, not the ride. I'm not a cycling enthusiast. I'm more of a Leather Express enthusiast. So much like Member Poland. So I was involved in standing up the Run to Remember 20 years ago. Actually, it's a 20-year anniversary today. 20 years ago, myself and 6 other officers We made the trek from Toronto to Ottawa, and there was nobody cheering. It was just us. But again, after 10 years in the honor guard and 10 years in the running team, looking for ways we know our officers have a very challenging job. We lose people that we love and care about, that are our coworkers and our peers within policing across the country. And we do lose people every year. And we wanted to come up with more than just standing at attention on Parliament Hill. We wanted to create an event that brought officers together to remember and to build friendships and relationships. And again, to bring an awareness to the cost of public safety in this country. The run has grown considerably in the last 20 years, where I think it's in excess of 300 runners, and it's quite a successful event. So thank you very much for that, Chair
Thank you.
Sizer.
And then our College Boreal Fitness, Health and Promotion.
Yes, let's not forget about College Boreal Fitness and Health Promotion Program, run to member for PTSD. So this fundraising event is to create awareness for the community about PTSD, which is very present in the lives of first responders. And so this event allows us to show our support to our coworkers, our friends, our family members who may be suffering in silence and are currently seeking help. And this event will also help create a bursary for a graduation student. 50% of the funds will go to 911. I can't pronounce that.
911, I've got your back.
Thank you very much, Mathieu Getiang. And 50% of the funds will go to the bursary.
Thank you. And there's the final request for the black and white that has been added to our agenda. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through you, Chair Sizer. The Black and White Gala is looking for $1,000 in support of their gala. And this is the 5th annual Black and White Gala. It's taking place on November 22nd, 2024. And this event raises funds for the Maison McCullough Hospice. The event defines itself as a no frills gala and ensures that as much funds as possible are donated to the hospice.
Thank you. And Member Lougheed.
Question to you, Chair. First off, support all three. And obviously, I founded the hospice and shared its building, so I have absolutely no problem money going to the hospice. But my question is, and I think I asked this question a few months ago, do we have a policy where we make donations to third parties who then are presenting their money to the nonprofit? So in other words, the people organizing the gala, they're collecting money from other places. I think it's actually the Restaurant Association that's doing this one, and they're great friends of mine, but then they're going to give the money to the hospice. Would we not just say, hospice, here's $1,000? And I guess I'm not really speaking to this motion, but do we have a policy for third-party fundraisers making applications to the reserve fund?
Good question, Member Lougheed. Perhaps Deputy Cunningham can respond.
Through you, Chair Sizer. No, we have, and I think we spoke about this again at Christmas. It was through the Shop of the Cop. They also wanted to make a donation to the hospice. So we do not have a policy or procedure on that. So the requester came through, I believe, P&M Cuisina, who's hosting, or the Restaurant Association, and they're making the request. So if the board chooses to make the donation straight to the hospice, I think that would be.
Chair, I'll support the motion, Deputy, but my point is perhaps moving forward before we have other motions like this, that we actually have a little discussion in the board about where the reserves fund, because I see our reserve fund's down to 29,000, is it?
Correct.
I
Yep,
think we have to be a bit responsible in the stewardship of that money. So I'll support the motions, Chair, but I would like perhaps you and I, and we can make a response to the other board members, a policy on this.
Thank you, Member Lougheed. Mike, I have a quick question for Deputy Cunningham on this one in support of the Black and White Gala. So does that money, to Member Lougheed's question, does that money get directly donated to Maison, or is it to offset costs of the gala? If you know that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, and I don't know if Matthew can speak to it. I don't have the request right in front of us. There was like most that we receive a sponsorship package. $1,000 is for sponsorship. There was to purchase tickets. There was numerous things. And we chose the $1,000 sponsorship package to put forward to the board. So I don't know, again, it didn't outline, but it was to support the event.
Okay, thank you, Mary. We'll work on that when we look at that policy. All right, Matthew, we have a recommendation.
Yes, that the board approve the following donation with funds drawn from the Police Services Board Reserve Trust Fund, $2,000 in support of the GSPS Ride to Remember cycling team, $1,500 in support of the College Boreal Fitness and Health Promotion Programs, Run to Remember for PTSD, and $1,000 in support of the Black and White Gala.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. On to our report from the chief. Article number 10. Chief Hiltz.
Thank you very much to you, Chair Sizer. We're going to start off with specialized operations, which obviously is led by Dan DePazzi and contains our community mobilized.
1 second. Yes, Member Lougheed.
Acting Kills, before we go to our inspectors reports, ministry updates, which is in the page 41 of our book. It talks about alcohol retail expansion implementation. So I was listening to a report, I think it was on the CBC, that this now people can buy booze at grocery stores, convenience stores. I think we're all aware of that. But when it came to the enforcement, the CBC reported that really there's not enough bylaw officers, there's not enough people from the licensing board, and that likely if there was a complaint, it's going to fall back on the local police. So I guess the question I have, is there any money associated or resources associated with the additional responsibility of enforcing that liquor part?
Through Chair Sizer, thank you, Member Lougheed. I can tell you there's no additional funding for the enforcement of alcohol retail expansion implementation. So it's going to fall in the line of what our enforcement already follows in terms of already the sales of alcohol at LCBOs throughout the province and throughout our city. That's the same kind of enforcement, and we do have an alcohol and gaming commission as well that it help bolster our efforts in that regard, but no extra funds, no.
Thank you. Just to further follow up on that, Chief Hiltz, are special constables or bylaw officers able to present fines if they catch, or is that certainly under the purview of the police service?
Through you, Chair, thank you. That's a great question. For now, the responsibility falls on, I can speak to us as an agency. It does fall onto our officers. We're not yet deploying special constables to alcohol retail expansion locations.
Okay, thank you. Member Lougheed.
Philip, follow up to you, Chair. That's exactly my point. We're going to increase the workload of our officers without appropriate compensation. We do have Mr. Gervais in attendance today representing Solgen. I would suggest that ministry should look at the fact that the government has allowed, and to Acting Chief Hiltz's issue, LCBO is a pretty restricted, you go in the building, you kind of know the product. Convenience stores and gas stations, it's the Wild West of who's going to go in, who's going to buy the beer, who's going to buy the wine. I think they have a hard enough time right now getting kids to show for cigarettes, the age issue. So now we're going to have young people buying booze in the corner stores. If we have to implement this and we have to police it, then I think it's only fair that since the government changed its policies, they should look at changing the resources to enforce those policies.
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. That's a great point, Member Lougheed. I can tell you that we have an extremely strong relationship with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. We have Sudbury, I'd say officers dedicated to the city of Sudbury who we have met with. And we all knew that this was coming. And we are aware, just like any alcohol license establishment, which there are several throughout the city, face the same challenges and issues. So we are all ready to take this on together. And like I said, we have a great relationship with this provincial agency, and we'll be working with them moving forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair, the media report said they don't have enough inspectors as well, Acting Chief. That's what my point is, that they didn't have enough to actually do their job now. So every independent grocery store, in fact, there's hundreds of them, I think, that now can have booze. Where's the extra enforcement? I don't think it's there.
There's no extras.
No,
Okay, thank you. We're going to now, again, we had started with the chief's report. Very extensive data and information here on this report. So Chief Hiltz, whenever you're ready.
Thanks very much, Chair Sizer, and through you. Thanks for pointing out that it's fairly extensive. And I'd like to say that that's directly attributable to the work of our people and the operations for Greater Sudbury Police Service. And again, this month is different as we're trying to capture summer months and not only just a single month. So we have 3 months that we're trying to pack into 1 month. So just a high level overview of some of the fantastic work that we're doing. Again, moving into specialized operations, which is our outward facing area of the service, really with that community safety well-being focus. We've got community mobilization section, the community engagement section. And again, our officers have been really busy throughout the summer months, providing that highly visible proactive patrols. And I know that people see them, they're both on foot and on bike. And we really do get out in the community and we respond to high complaint areas. And I know we've done so throughout the summer. And in keeping with that, we also have been engaged with our community on several fronts. We run and host a variety of annual summer programs geared to youth and at-risk youth. We've hosted the annual Spider program, and that's for anyone that doesn't know what that stands for. It's a Sudbury Police Youth Dirt Riders program, which I got a chance to get out there a couple times and tell you that it is an extremely engaging and successful event for our youth in our Sudbury community. We also hosted the annual Summer Spark, the Sudbury Police Adventure Recreations at Kibbe, and our Burst program, Building Understanding and Resiliency and Strength Together program, among other amazing programs that are happening right now, where we have officers engaging our youth throughout Greater Sudbury, which is really helps us invest into those prevention efforts that are in line with investing into kids and preventing crime and creating resiliency and strength in youth. As well, trying to capture many things over the summer. There's a long list there referred to the board on page 47 and 48. There's a long list of community events also that specialized operations officers have been a part of throughout the summer months in 2024 here in Greater Sudbury. And you can have a look at the list of events that we've been engaged in. What we've included is the court section. You'll see it's extensive, and just to give the board a feel for on top of the duties in terms of that public engagement, there's a lot of work being done in the court section of Greater Sudbury, which is obviously relevant to new disclosure protocols, standing up a case management disclosure unit, and as well to support body worn video. So just so that people can get a feel for the amount of work that is and the amount of people that are coming through our courthouse. And you can refer to that through pages 48 through to 52. And just to bring your attention just to a couple of items in this section before we move on. During the summer months, and that's going to include June, July, and August, the court officer through the bail safety officer manage a considerable amount of intimate partner violence investigations and follow-ups, interviews and checklists. So those numbers are there. And then I know that Member Poland has asked on several occasions what's going on with the courthouse renovations. So I can tell the board that we are still waiting for the single point entry to be completed, but I can tell you they're well underway, and those upgrades to the cells front doors that commenced are still in progress. Just a couple of new items that are quite significant are just the Ministry of Attorney General MAG disclosure protocol. And for those of you who aren't aware, on February 1st, 2024, the Ministry of Attorney General rolled out a new provincial police crown protocol for disclosure in criminal cases. And we're continuing to discuss that and meet with MAG. And I know there's been several meetings on a provincial level between chiefs and deputy chiefs of police with MAGs this past summer. And those meetings continue as we all try to transition to new disclosure timelines. The new case management disclosure unit is tied directly to this new protocol. that police agencies across the province are bracing for. And this is actually quite a significant event for Greater Sudbury. And we're standing up a case management and disclosure unit through the help of Inspector Dan DePazzi and Specialized Operations. And so our work is well underway to launch this, and it's through the court section and in partnership with the Crown, just to assist our agency and assist our frontline officers in creating a more efficient and streamlined process in preparing evidence and case packages for court. A lot of time includes forensic evidence and digital evidence, which and then soon it'll be body worn camera digital evidence as well. So again, to support officers and support our agency for timely, efficient disclosure, we're standing up this unit to help support the work that's happening in that area. Moving on to emergency communications, I'm just going to acknowledge manager and police professional Andrew Savage is in the room. And this is by all means not my singular work sitting here as acting chief of police, and just want to acknowledge all of the significant work that Andrew does in this area and many of our very committed communicators. You can see that we've handled a significant amount of calls throughout the summer, with starting off, around the 5,000 and change mark, and topping off in at the end of August, over 6,000 calls for service, which is a quite a workload for our people in communications and our frontline personnel. When we look at intimate partner violence, because of course the board and Greater Sudbury Police have declared that an epidemic. So we'd like to follow up and make the board aware and the community aware that we are still, our personnel in emergency communications are still managing, and our frontline are managing several intimate partner violent incidents for the months of June, July, and August. And we can see that it remains around around the 250 mark. We'd like to report that the verified alarm response program that we diverse calls away from our frontline officers. We've got a ton of great initiatives in the Greater Sudbury Police Service, and the verified alarm program is certainly one of them. We continue to divert calls away from our frontline, and those numbers are there. And most importantly, I think Andrew will be very happy that I mentioned that we are hiring an emergency communications. We did have a recruiting, an online recruiting session at Greater Sudbury, and we held a virtual Zoom recruiting session that was the brainchild of Andrew Savage. So for those members of the public and those of you aware, we did reach a ceiling with how many people could access this virtual platform and recruitment platform, and Zoom only allowed us 300 spots. So just so that the public knows, and I discussed with Andrea, we will be having a second session. Andrea, is that correct? Yeah, so we will be having a second session. So for anybody that's interested in applying for emergency communications, we welcome their application, and we will be publicizing through Caitlin Den and corporate comms and across all our social media when that'll happen. So thanks for Andrew for setting that up, and apologies to anybody who may have missed that, but hopefully we'll get you the second time through. Moving on to patrol operations, there's a bit of a change in patrol. For those of you who may or may not know, Inspector John Valtman recently retired, and we're very grateful to him for his 32 years of dedicated service to Ontario policing. And we recently had a promotion, and that's going to be Inspector Chris Brown. He's not here today, but he'll be a new face in our senior leadership team, and we also welcome him to our leadership team. So we're going to go over some of the patrol operations section activity, and we're going to highlight our new AWOL program. The AWOL program is a very interesting program, and it's an important program. And in August, our service began to pilot a project for unique situations involving group home youth residents. And so what happens is if you fail to return home before their curfew and there's no concern for their safety and what we call deviation from baseline behavior, the group home staff can file a report online through the COP Project program. And so that really saved our officers from going to 78 calls to group homes in the first month of project. And this is quite significant. And so what this program enables us to do is create just more process efficiencies to support our frontline workload, and as well as enhance our service delivery in partnership with our community stakeholders and partners. So I just would like to mention that we came up with a new strat plan in 2023. And, that strat plan is being embraced by members of our police service. And I'd like to point out that this new AWOL program certainly is a demonstration of this. We've got officers that are critically assessing their work environment and leading from exactly where they are right now and looking for process efficiencies for our service and for our front line. And this particular program, when it was presented, what they did was they linked it to, creating efficiencies to support our members and member health and well-being. They linked it to increasing efficiencies for service delivery to our community and streamlining and making it more effective. And again, they brought all community stakeholders and all the community partners and groups and the group homes together. And they really worked in partnership, which is really the true spirit across all main pillars of our strat plan. So I'd like to say that this particular project is a demonstration of how important it is to have an effective strat plan and what can happen when our members are internalizing its principles. It's a great program. We're happy to have it in Greater Sudbury, and we look forward to seeing its continued benefits throughout our service. So that is going to be it.
Yeah.
For that. The only other thing that I'm going to I'd like to bring to the forefront is in integrated operations, and being through a few of these board meetings. I know how much the public likes to hear about the work being done in our integrated operations and through our Marine unit. The public wants to see a lot of engagement of police onto our several waterways. And we have acting Inspector Doug Ward here today, who is one of the people that oversees the work in that area. We were able to get out to Greater Sudbury Police Service through our Rural Community Response Unit, was able to get out and engage our public on several waterways. So just, I don't have to go through all of it, the report, it's in detail, but just to highlight Vermilion Lake, Whitson Lake, Whitewater Lake, Ramsey Lake, Long Lake, and Richard Lake, among others. So I just want to ensure that the public knows and the board knows that we're doing our very best with the resources we have to get out on those waterways and, conduct marine patrol enforcement. And we've inspected several vessels. There's been over 100 in-person engagements, several stops and warnings, and our officers continue to do that good work as our September has been quite warm this year. So thank you to Integrated Operations for that. And in criminal investigations, Member Lougheed, sorry.
Acting Chief Hiltz, I'd like to go back to Traffic Management Unit. Again, kind of.
Can you refer what page?
Your page 60, 61. I think you kind of jumped over that from your AWOL to marine stuff. And this is my monthly question. So in the month of June, there was 25 drivers charged with impaired by drugs, alcohol. July, we have 23, and August, we have 25. So it's almost consistent. Every month, we have the same amount of people being charged. So does that mean that's a good thing or a bad thing, or we should try to get the 25 down to 20? It just, if it's consistent all the time, it seems the same amount of rides are being done. So is it an education to the community that traffic should be saying, we're unhappy that 25 people, that's almost a drunk a day, that we have a drunk a day being caught in Sudbury. Is that acceptable or not?
Through you, Chair, I'd like to say that any impaired driver is unacceptable. And that would be our position at Greater Sudbury Police Service. I've personally gone out on ride programs, with Leslie, Safe Ride Home, and our ride operators. And unfortunately, there still are people that continue to drive while impaired. I'd like to say that, we're sitting, we know that we've had a population increase. We're sitting just under 180,000 residents. That's 179.9, I believe that we're at. and we continue to grow. And, you know, we are putting all the resources we have at trying to combat impaired driving. And we are running ride programs, which are quite successful. And like I said, I've been boots to ground with alongside our members in doing that. And I can tell you that they're doing a spectacular job. And we continue to do enforcement. We do have great community partners. We have several partners, including MAD, Sudbury, and again, Leslie Green does fantastic work, great partner of the police. We continue to get out on the roadways and undisclosed locations, I'd like to mention, and in order to try and nab those drivers. So that number is interpretive. I mean, we're doing a great job in catching impaired drivers. What then that number is in total scope, I can't tell you, but I can tell you that our service remains strong in our resolve to ensure that there's zero impaired drivers, and we continue to do that great work in the community.
Okay. You're very superlative in your answer, which I respect. But my question is, every month we have the same amount of drunk drivers. So should we have more education? Should we be going into the schools? Should we be doing more advocacy with regard? I think once upon a time we rewarded sober drivers. But my point is that it hasn't changed. And in fact, using your answer to me, if there's even more population and we stay with the same numbers, that in itself doesn't make sense either. So I guess my question is, do you have an answer to how to bring that standard number down each month? I know you're doing good things, the partnership, the ride programs. I respect and I've understood that for a number of years. My question is, are we stuck at 25 a month?
I think I didn't interject on that one. It's a good question and it's one of concern, and the answer is there. No number of impaired drivers is acceptable in the community. But I think on that one, Member Lougheed, it's a good question. I think that perhaps we could ask that the staff would bring forth a report on what the initiatives are, the ride programs, the different advertiser information, education, just how much time and effort we dedicate to that type. And maybe there are areas where we can increase that awareness or whatever it is. The board can look at it. I think right now, just looking at, we know we're doing a little bit of all the things that have been suggested, and maybe more than just a little bit. So I'd just like to know our full extent.
Chair, I very much support your comments. And Inspector Brunet knows this is something I ask about regularly. And I guess the question is, you know, I think somebody running for the presidency of the United States said, you know, if you don't test for COVID, you got zero COVID. Well, I guess if we didn't have ride programs, we'd have no drunk drivers. That doesn't make any sense. So if Mark or acting Chief Hiltz or Deputy Chief Cunningham, if we could get numbers that said we checked this many cars this month and this was our drunk drivers, and we could see the number of people being checked, that might give us an indication to Chief Hiltz's point. If we're checking twice as many cars now, we still are at 25. That's likely a good direction. If we keep checking the same amount every month, we keep getting the same amount of drunk drivers every month, I think we should try a new strategy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you, Chair Sizer. And your point is taken, Member Lougheed, and we do know how passionate you are and how much you care about impaired driving in Greater Sudbury. And we're very grateful to have champions like you to keep us moving forward in this regard. I can tell you that Greater Sudbury is, not resistant to any type of, report or public analysis and disclosure of numbers of exactly what we're doing. Because I feel very confident that we're doing a considerable amount of work in this area. So, I mean, I take direction from the chair and I take direction from the board. And like I said, we're not opposed to having a more in-depth discussion on that. And just to recap, I know before we broke for the summer, we've come up with detailed statistics on impaired driving year to year and how many cars we pulled over as opposed to how many impaired drivers we've arrested. We've also had an impaired presentation with one of our lovely officers who provided a really in-depth overview on our work in impaired driving. And again, I look forward to continuing the conversation as we all work together and bringing that number to zero as much as possible. So thank you for that, Chair Lougheed.
Okay, major crime section.
Okay, we're moving to criminal investigations, and that's going to be page 69 of your books if you're looking for it. And through you, Chair, criminal investigations is led by Inspector Jerry Wilmot, and he is with us today in the room. And again, as the acting chief, this is by no means my singular work, and it takes the work of a lot of people to uphold the mandates of these various areas throughout our service. And so thanks goes to him and his officers. As you can see, we've had several investigations throughout the summer. You can go through them, but I would just like to mention that we are continuing to investigate the motorcycle operator injured by rocks thrown by youth. And that investigation is still ongoing, and that is a matter of public interest that's been well publicized in the media. And we do welcome any tips in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Then we have our corporate communications, and there's a lot of information there, a lot of, we've attended, the service has been involved with a lot of, I guess, the fairs, festivals, events type of thing. And thanks to Caitlin Dunn for putting this all together, and it's there for our edification. Member Lougheed.
With the media in the room, I very much want to, the success story, and all of them are success stories, but especially that moose hunt. That moose hunt is the best thing that whoever came up with it ever had. We talk about building partnerships with Indigenous peoples. That's not rhetoric, that's reality with this project. This is a project that I know across Canada, other police services have looked at, and it very much is a jewel in our good news with regard to, and I see it's again going this year. I see an awful lot of happy faces and a lot of chairs filled with regard to who's attending that. So that's page 34 of our package, and it's wonderful. The other comment, Chair, I would like to know is with regard to cops, kids, and fishing on July 9th. Not so many people in that picture, and I just wrote in my book, how many people did participate in the fishing? Do we know?
Chief Hiltz.
That's a great question through your Chair Sizer. I actually attended that event. I felt that it was very well attended. The exact number of kids, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you it's probably in the 20s. And a lot of those kids, they overlap with some of the other programs like the Spider program, the Dirt Bike Rider program. And I can tell you, I've gotten to know some of the friendly faces and kids that call me by my first name. And they thoroughly enjoyed the fishing program. And when I asked them, what is your favorite part about kids caught and fishing? I said, is it catching any fish? And they said, no, it's about making friends with the police. So, and it's about making new friends. So a very successful program, and one that was well attended. And again, I've had a chance to talk to several of those kids, and they were very happy to be a part of it.
Last comment, Chair. Constable Hines. And there's a nice picture of him with his bike.
Yep.
And it looks like he won a bunch of awards again. So there's a whole list of coming first and second and coming first and third. So he certainly has represented this police service well. For those perhaps new to the board, Constable Hines has a real passion with regard to motorcycles. And in fact, we hosted that competition out at the Walmart parking lot in the middle of the ring because I was the guest speaker. And Constable Hines is very much committed to making our service shine. And it looks like he did that again. So kudos to Acting Chief Hiltz and Deputy Chief Cunningham to pass that along to Constable Hines.
Through you, Chair, we definitely will. We're very blessed to have Constable Hines on our team, GSPS, and he certainly does a fantastic job and very, very passionate about motorcycles. I just want to bring us back to the moose hunt and just say that I appreciate your comments, Member Lougheed. Yes, it is a fantastic program, but I would like to point out that the Indigenous liaison officers, Josh Rickards and Dale Rivers and that team in there does an absolutely incredible job. And, not so long ago, and we were invited to participate in the Indigenous Liaison Unit training that they were giving in the province to several other agencies that really didn't have a formalized Indigenous Liaison Officer program. So I'd like to point out that we are certainly leaders in our own right. We're truly, truly blessed to have a very strong leading edge Indigenous Liaison Officer group. And I think that this event is successful directly because of their efforts. And that would have the support of our former chief Chief Pedersen. And you plant a seed and it grows. And I think this moose hunt is definitely a fruit from that labor. And I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. And I guess, I just, the other one, that the board made a change to our grants to the Diversity Advisory Committee with the bursaries, where we're giving out one bursary for the 4 school boards. We have changed that where there are now a bursary for each of the 4 school boards. So it's reflected here in this report here that the 4 grade 12 students received their bursary. So I just wanted to mention that also, a great initiative. New business. Is there anything around anybody around the table that has anything that we haven't discussed today? Seeing or hearing none. The date of our next Police Service Board meeting is October 16th, 2024. And we will continue to use these venues for the time being. Other than that, adjournment. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, well.